retirement today.
Call 800-982-6544 to get your free guide. Call now and also get this free magnifier with LED light.
Well, what do you know? Ted Cruz has finally come around to endorsing Donald Trump. The two battled it out, of course, during the primary. It all culminated in the Republican convention where Ted Cruz refused to support the Republican nominee for president. Who can forget that moment? If you did, let's watch it again.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
You know, I was there and the crowd was so angry and so upset, and they booed him, and the cameras shot Donald Trump off to the side, walking up onto stage, almost as though to say to the viewers, it's okay, and to the audience, it's okay. Anyway, now the Texas senator says he will vote for Donald Trump. But why is he doing it now? And what does Trump need to say tonight to win over some of those never Trump Republicans like Ted Cruz? Joining me right now with their thoughts, National Review editor Rich Lowry, along with Cruz campaign pollster Chris Wilson. Good to see both you guys.
Hi, Trish.
Chris, I'll start with you because I want to know about the timing. Why did he suddenly decide to do this now?
Well, I think there are two realities here that are important that are not going to change between now and the election. The first one is that Ted Cruz is the leader of the conservative movement. He's the leader of the Republican Party, and what he says matters. And he's been asked multiple times, has he come to the conclusion that what he said at the convention, which held true, to vote your conscience, to stand for someone who's going to protect the Constitution, that's going to stand for your values. And over the course of the last few weeks, Donald Trump has moved toward, in Ted Cruz's opinion, supporting the Constitution. He's named 21 people now that are all solid conservatives who would nominate the Supreme Court. And so because of that, I think it's become a more clearer picture than it may have been a few weeks ago.
Okay,
but the second
so do you think there are others?
Reality is this,
go ahead,
sorry,
Chris.
go ahead. Well, I was going to say the second reality is that Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee. And as long as she is the nominee and that Ted Cruz is in the United States Senate, it is going to be incumbent upon him to do what he can to make sure he supports.
Too, right? I mean, she was the nominee back then, too.
It was, but as he said at the time, I mean, look, this was a personal decision. And for those of us who know Ted Cruz well and know how important his faith is to him, to know that he has reached a point of forgiveness, I think is an important one. It's one that those of us who understand that faith and also share that faith should probably respect.
Do you think he was worried, Rich, perhaps making himself less and less relevant? I mean, when you think of his base, Ted Cruz's supporters, the people that liked him and were willing to campaign for him, they've all jumped ship right over to Donald Trump. So here he is, the guy who's anti-establishment. He's got no friends in the establishment, and then suddenly he's got no friends among those base supporters that are now all for Trump. What is he left with? Is that just the cold, harsh reality that you think perhaps might have also factored into the decision?
It's obvious that calculation had to factor into this, and I'm an admirer of Ted Cruz, but I just have a little more cynical take than Chris does. It doesn't make any sense to give that convention speech he gave that was so radioactive and angered so many people. It was one of the most memorable moments of either convention, and then turn around a month later or so and say this. And it's because exactly the point you're hitting on. He's used to angering people and going his own way, but it's one thing to anger Mitch McConnell, and it's another to anger your activist base. And this is a guy who, if Trump loses, very much wants to run in 2020, and everything has to be seen through that filter.
Yeah. I mean, you got, as I was saying earlier, you get the peeps out there, right? You need your peeps. And he was losing his peeps, Chris. And you should know this better, right, than anyone, because you're a pollster. I mean, how do you keep the base in there still active and willing to support him in the future if he's going to have a political future?
Well, look, his political future and what lack thereof has been written and rewritten multiple times. I mean, all of a sudden he wasn't going to have a future after he dropped out. He wasn't going to have a future whenever he didn't endorse, and he wasn't going to have a future if he did endorse. So I think we sort of go through that over and over again. But the fact is he's proven time and time again that he is going to be a leader of the conservative movement. He's a leader of the Republican Party, and from that, what his opinion is matters. But you can't rush someone into coming to a conclusion that what they're doing is the right thing for him. And I think I don't have that cynicism. I do respect the process. I respect what he went through intellectually to arrive at the conclusion.
So I want to get to Rich here as we think about what needs to happen to bring more never-Trumpers in. I mean, I think that Ted Cruz he was sort of in that camp, but cut from a very different cloth, right? Because he did typically appeal to that base. But there are other folks out there. I mean, you think about the Bush family, for example. How does he start to win them over?
He's not going to win over the Bush family, and I think he's pretty much down to the irreducible core now of folks he's never going to get. Ben Sasse, Jeff flake a few other elected officials. But if you believe the latest ABC Washington Post poll, which had Hillary still slightly ahead, Trump's at about 90% Republican support. So he's made major progress in consolidating the party, and just sort of the natural partisan dynamics and partisan gravity have helped him do that. Plus, as Chris referred to, the last 4 or 5 weeks have been encouraging for people making the case, well, okay, maybe he's not one of us, maybe he doesn't know a lot of this stuff, but he'll follow good advice. And one of the reasons the polls now have really tightened is that he has followed advice for the most part over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
All right, Rich, Chris, good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
It'll
you.
be an interesting
Thank
tonight
you.
indeed. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
You have a vision. It's behind everything you do. Even when you least expect it, it comes through. You know what you want, and we can help make it real. You need choices? We've got all kinds, including special finishes and papers. And they're all absolutely guaranteed. Because you have a vision, and we have your card. 500 start at just $9.99 when you enter BC500 at Vistaprint.com.
Home Advisor is a very easy way